The second, and thus far last, David Lynch movie to be adapted from a true story, with the other being the excellent The Elephant Man, The Straight Story also happens to be my new favourite movie in Lynch's filmography. Richard Farnsworth stars as Alvin Straight, an elderly man who embarks on a 240-mile road trip from Iowa to Wisconsin on his lawnmower to reunite with his estranged brother Lyle, Harry Dean Stanton, who recently suffered a bad stroke. It's been a couple of weeks since I saw this film, so my memories of it aren't as distinct anymore, but I can still tell you that The Straight Story is one of the most beautiful, charming, and heartwarming movies I've seen in quite a while. As with Kubrick and Lolita, I didn't know Lynch had it in him. Farnsworth delivers a wonderful performance as Alvin Straight. Much like Victor Seastrom in Wild Strawberries, Farnsworth portrays an immensely warm, kind, and endearing man, but his character also possesses an unyielding determination to be there for his sick brother and right old wrongs between them. Alvin must use canes to walk, he no longer has a driver's license due to his poor eyesight, and his slow ride, which has a top speed of about 8 kilometers an hour, is fraught with engine and transmission problems. Even so, Alvin politely but firmly refuses any offer to drive him to his destination, as he wants to finish his journey in his own way. He is swallowing his pride by going to visit his brother, but he is still committed to reconciliation between them, and driving there himself is a more active effort on his part toward this reconciliation, as opposed to just taking the bus or accepting somebody's ride, which would be more passive. Therefore, Alvin, while stubborn, is a noble man. We don't find out exactly what drove Alvin and Lyle apart, but unlike the backstories in Wild Strawberries and Lynch's own Lost Highway, this lack of detail doesn't matter. In The Straight Story, the journey is consistently presented as more important than the motivation, which brings to mind Deepak Chopra. Simply alluding to the tragic conflict in Alvin and Lyle's past is enough for us to enjoy the peaceful ride and invest ourselves in Alvin's quiet quest for brotherly reunion. But in Wild Strawberries, Isaac's backstory is very prominent, yet his cold aloofness, which Marianne constantly refers to, is never once shown. Therefore, emphasizing the backstory over the journey works to the film's detriment, as Isaac's arc feels incomplete, with less for him to grow from due to character traits that are only ever talked about and never shown. And in Lost Highway, which I still think is a great film, alluding to a traumatic event in Pete's past was just pointless, as the film sets up a mystery that it never engages with and eventually discards, thus depriving Pete of depth. The Straight Story gives us just enough detail to make us care deeply for Alvin and hope that he and his brother will forgive each other, while still giving the journey and the people he meets the most attention. The Straight Story is filled with vibrant, interesting supporting characters that give the film added flavor and richness. Lynch brings his trademark weirdness to the characterization of many of these side characters, such as the two bickering auto mechanic brothers, a store owner who has an almost loving attachment to his grabber, and a hysterical woman who runs into deer no matter how hard she tries to avoid them, but in a subtler way than usual that makes them feel enjoyably eccentric instead of being ciphers or goofy caricatures. I think it goes without saying that The Straight Story is Lynch's most realistic movie, as well as his most mainstream. Through these supporting characters, we learn more about Alvin and his past, and they allow Farnsworth to employ his tender charm. The music and cinematography complement each other well, working together to show the tranquil, rural beauty of the places Alvin drifts through, and the performances are overall very strong, especially from Sissy Spacek, who is incredible as Alvin's mentally handicapped daughter, Rose. This is now my favorite David Lynch movie, but since it's a Lynch movie, I gotta bitch about something.
I'm gonna go over there.
Wow, that was some bad stage direction. I guess my only major problem with The Straight Story is that I don't really get a feel for the stakes. Lyle's stroke, which Alvin finds out about over the phone, is the catalyst that sends Alvin on his way, but there is no urgency to his journey. In 5 weeks, Lyle may have had another stroke and died, or been relocated to an elderly home or hospital, but Alvin never considers this. Yes, the journey is more important than the reason in this film, but the film's relaxing, dreamlike pacing doesn't quite mesh with the very serious event that put Alvin out on the road in the first place, and it's easy to forget about the stroke in question. The conclusion is predictably sentimental, though if the film had ended with the twist of Lyle passing away before Alvin could get to him, then the ending would have been a work of depressing genius if handled with the proper dignity. As it is, the predictable nature of the ending doesn't change how uplifting and quietly touching it is. The Straight Story is a road trip movie with a heartwarming story of brotherhood and perseverance at its core. With great performances, superb cinematography, and a vibrant cast of characters, the film is let down only by a general lack of urgency. The Straight Story earns 4 stars out of 5. Thanks for watching. Cheers.